Is that diplomatic, foreign secretary type language?
The point I'm making is that I think the risk with Jeremy Corbyn is that people don't see what a threat he really is. So they think he's this kind of harmless Islingtonian herbivore, but actually the sad thing is that he's committed to a lot of policies that really went out of fashion in the 1980s, unilateral disarmament, a kind of visceral hostility to British military engagement overseas, our armed forces, and I don't think an adequate understanding of the real threats that the country faces. So that's the risk, is people don't see it.
But all of these things are valid. Diplomatic, as Susanna pointed out, points to bring up and important points to make. But to describe him as a mutton-headed mugwump, it's none of those things, is it?
The risk is that is how people will
But the language you're using there, Boris.
Well, yes, of course. I mean, it's important to understand that people will. The danger is that people will see the Labour leader, Jeremy Corbyn, who is the only possible alternative to Theresa May as Prime Minister on June the 8th, as an effectively benign, harmless person who's never going to make it. There is a very, very serious risk, in my view, that he would pursue policies that would put this country in danger.
It's interesting.
And that would weaken our defences at a time when the world is really... I mean, the world's been getting better and better in lots of ways over the last couple of days, but we've got big problems right now.
Yeah.
We've got to struggle against Islamist terror.
It's interesting that you say that you don't think people understand, and The Sun, in which you wrote this article, had to provide a translation of your words for its readers. So I'm not even sure that the phrase you're using is easily understandable.
Well, then in that case, it can't be too devastating an insult, if I may say.
OK, in which case it's not a devastating attack, which is exactly what you've planned it to be. But let me put to you some of the muddles in your particular policies. I mean, Shadow Foreign Secretary Emily Thornberry has said, it seems Boris Johnson has finally been allowed out of hiding on the condition he only talks delusional nonsense. And, she says, after his broken promise of £350 million a week for the NHS, why should anyone believe a word he says? Jeremy Hunt, the Health Secretary, came in yesterday. He campaigned, of course, for us to remain in. He doesn't back up that pledge of £350 million for the NHS, and he's the man in charge of the NHS.
Well, what is absolutely true is that it's only if you have Theresa May conducting these negotiations, able to get the deal that Britain needs, that we have any chance of taking back control of our borders, of our laws, and indeed of huge sums of money, £350 million a week, which we currently do not control, and which, as I said just now in that clip,
it's not even going to be £350 million, is it?
From, I suppose it was last year, could be spent on our priorities, such as the NHS. And it really is crucial.
That isn't actually the accurate amount of what we contribute to the EU.
In fact, it's half.
And also, if we don't get a good deal, we won't get enough money back.
Is the global figure of what we don't control. The net contribution is about £10 billion a year. 350 million, as I explained, until I was blue in the face last year. That is what the UK contributes to the.
Do you still stand by that,
budget.
then, Boris?
I do, of course I do. And the advantage of having a strong negotiation, a strong negotiator in Theresa May, is that that's the only chance, as I say, that we have to keep these negotiations going in a stable and ordered way with our 27 friends and partners, get a deal that is in our interests and in their interests,
so can we just
have a strong UK and a strong EU.
On this figure, £350 million for a week, firstly, it's disputed by pretty much anybody on the amount.
Actually,
and secondly, the morning after the referendum...
I'm sorry to say, it is not disputed.
It is.
It is not.
Well, we can sit here and say it is and it isn't.
All right,
Nigel Farage himself, you know, the prime exponent of Brexit, said it was a mistake to even say it.
Well, I can't speak for anybody else.